Hello everyone. So just in case you want to revisit how to write sine and cosine equations, I'm going to briefly discuss it here. So I'm gonna use the same example that I had used last time that we discussed this. So I'm gonna first use the general function for this instead of a sine. Let's say there's b here. I'm going to use this form. This is much easier to use. So whenever you write functions, use this form. Okay. So what we will do first is to first identify the center of our graph. That's gonna be at 4. So from there, we will now be able to find the amplitude. Okay. The amplitude is from the center to the peak of the graph, or from the center to the bottom of the graph. In other words, the amplitude is, if this is from 4 to 8, so that is 4 units, or from 4 to 0, that's still 4 units. So we can say that the value of A here is equal to 4. That's the amplitude. Now, next is, how can we find the value of B? So in B, we have to consider first one cycle of the graph. Since we are dealing with sine function, so we know that the image looks like this. And I started here. So that's already one cycle. If you want to find the value of B, consider one cycle of the graph, or one period. So what is one period here, or one cycle? So I started at pi and ended at 2 pi. So the distance between pi and 2 pi is pi. So therefore, one cycle, or one period, is equal to pi. So we know that the period is equal to 2 pi over the absolute value of B. So we can now find the value of B, right? So to find the value of B, the formula is B equals 2 pi over P, where P is the period. So knowing the fact that the period is equal to pi, so 2 pi over pi will give us B equals 2, right? So we now have A, we now have B. We just want to find the value of C. Well, this is very easy. To find the value of C, just know where we started. So we started at pi, right? So therefore, and that's now the horizontal translation. So instead of 0, that's the parent function, right? And it translated horizontally at pi. So your C is equal to pi there. And the value of D, just identify the center of the graph there, and that's at 4. So therefore, we can say now that D is equal to 4. So replacing all the values of the variables here based on our values here, you will get, okay, so that's 4 sine 2 times the quantity x minus our C is pi, then plus 4. So that is the sine function. Well, there are many different answers here, but yeah. If you started here, so definitely your C will change. Okay. So it becomes 0, so that becomes 2x. Okay. So next, what about cosine function? Same procedure. Instead of sine, this becomes cosine. So same procedure. So first we identify the center of the graph. That's still the same for us to get the amplitude. Right. So we will start here. We know that the image of the graph of the cosine function looks like this, like U or V, for instance. So same value of A. It's from here, from the center to the peak of the graph, and that's 4 units, or from the center to the bottom of the graph. That's the minimum point. And that's still from 0 to 4. That's 4 units, right? So the amplitude is equal to 4. Now, so here, one period is from here, from pi over 4 to 5 pi over 4. The distance between them is pi. Yeah, so same procedure as the sine function. So since they have the same period, we know that the b is equal to 2 also. So for the value of c, just identify where we started, identifying our 1 cycle, and that's at pi over 4, right? So that's pi over 4, and then the value of d is still the same at 4. So we can now get the value of, or we can now find the function. So the function would be y equals, or f of x equals 4 cosine 2, that's your b value, times the quantity x minus pi over 4 plus 4. So there are many answers for the cosine and sine functions here. Okay, I just want to give you more one more example. I mean, one more cosine function for this. What if I will use this cycle? Okay, I'm gonna use the portion of this graph. This is from 7 pi over 4 till 11 pi over 4. Still the same period, it's still pi, right? But since it is already flipped about the x-axis, correct? So we know that the amplitude now becomes a negative here. So it becomes negative 4 cosine 2 times x minus, and we started identifying our cycle at 7 pi over 4. So that's x minus 7 pi over 4 plus 4. Okay, thank you.